There is a quiet law moving through your life right now, whether you are aware of it or not. It gives shape to your mornings, colors your relationships, defines what you expect from money, health, and love. This law does not shout, it does not argue, it simply takes what you repeatedly say to yourself and turns it into the fabric of your experience. Every word you whisper within, every phrase you rehearse in the secret theater of your mind becomes a seed. And your subconscious mind, that silent garden of infinite possibility, never tires of receiving those seeds and bringing them to harvest. If you could pause time for a moment and see the invisible atmosphere around you, you would notice that your life is surrounded by the electromagnetic imprint of your constant inner conversation. Thoughts repeated with feeling generate patterns in your nervous system, etch pathways across the neurons of your brain, and radiate subtle signals into what modern physics might call a quantum field of possibilities. Yet beneath all these scientific descriptions lies an ancient truth. You are, in the deepest sense, what you repeatedly say to yourself, because your subconscious mind accepts your inner words as commands, takes them as blueprints, and quietly constructs your reality around them. From your earliest years you were spoken into being. Voices around you, parents, teachers, peers, spoke words into your environment. Some were loving, others fearful. Some affirmed your worth, others questioned it. Your young mind did not have the capacity to judge or reject these statements. It absorbed them, like soft clay taking the impression of every touch. Those impressions sank into your subconscious as beliefs, and those beliefs began to operate as laws in your life. Modern psychology calls this emotional patterning, the formation of schemas and core beliefs. Neuroscience speaks of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to wire itself according to repeated experience. Spiritual law tells us the same story in a different language. As you think and feel within, so shall it be done unto you. Now, as you listen to these words, your subconscious mind is listening too. It does not analyze my voice. It does not debate the philosophy. It responds to the feeling carried in the words, to the images arising in your imagination, to the quiet decisions forming in your heart. It is always listening. It hears your fears at dawn and your quiet prayers at midnight. It hears every complaint you repeat about your life, and it hears every blessing you dare to affirm. It does not judge. It simply says, "So be it," and begins to organize your inner chemistry, your neural pathways, and the circumstances of your days around what you have accepted as true. Consider a simple scene. A man wakes each morning, looks at his bank account, and sighs, "I never have enough money. Money is so hard to get. Something always goes wrong." He says this not only with his lips, but with his feelings. He repeats it in conversation with others. He rehearses it silently as he falls asleep. His inner words become a kind of emotional soundtrack, an ongoing commentary. "It's always difficult for me." It hears the quiet recognition rising within you. "I am more powerful than I realized, because the power that creates worlds lives in me as my own consciousness." It hears whatever you decide to say next. You can tell it with gentle authority, "From this day forward, I choose to speak to myself with love. I choose to affirm that good is possible for me. I choose to align my inner words with the truth of who I really am, a channel of divine intelligence, a unique expression of infinite life." As you repeat such truths, not once, not twice, but again and again, with patience, you become them. There is no rush in this process. The oak does not apologize for taking time to grow from a seed. Your mind, too, is unfolding according to divine timing. You need only be faithful in your practice. Keep watch over your inner conversation as you would guard a sacred fire. When old phrases of self-condemnation appear, gently replace them. When fear speaks loudly, do not fight it. Introduce a stronger, quieter voice of truth. When doubts arise about your worth or your future, remember that they are echoes of past programming, not prophecies. You may acknowledge them, but you do not need to worship them. You are, and always have been, what you repeatedly say to yourself. But now you know this. Knowledge brings responsibility, and responsibility brings freedom. You can choose. In choosing your words, you choose your state. In choosing your state, you choose the experiences you attract, the people you draw near, the health you enjoy, and the peace you carry. Let your final whisper to yourself today be one of calm certainty. The creative power of the universe moves through my subconscious mind. I accept only those thoughts and words that bless, heal, and prosper me and others. I am guided from within. I am loved from within. I am transforming from within. As you rest in this awareness, something deep within you nods in agreement and begins, silently and faithfully, to make it so. Things never work out. I am unlucky. Over time, these phrases sink deeper and deeper into his subconscious mind, imprinting themselves as unquestioned facts. His nervous system wires itself to expect scarcity. Opportunities are filtered through that assumption. He may overlook possibilities, feel unworthy of new doors opening, or sabotage promising situations without knowing why. To him, life appears to confirm what he has been saying. Yet it is not life that is against him, but his own inner speech that has become law. One day, however, something in him awakens. Perhaps he hears a teaching. Perhaps he grows tired of the old story. He notices the pattern of his words and realizes that his life has been echoing his own internal declarations. Slowly, gently, he begins to experiment. He does not force enthusiasm. He does not pretend to feel what he does not feel. Instead, he begins to introduce new phrases, like new seeds in the soil of his mind. Money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. I am guided to wise decisions. Life is learning to support me. At first, these statements feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because the old grooves of thinking are deep. But he persists, not with strain, but with quiet conviction. Every night before sleep, he repeats them. Every morning, he returns to them. Gradually, his nervous system begins to soften around these new possibilities. Neural pathways associated with fear and scarcity begin to weaken, while new pathways of trust and receptivity strengthen. He finds himself making slightly different choices, noticing opportunities he would have once dismissed. After some time, his outer life begins to shift. New clients appear, a helpful person arrives, an idea comes at the right moment. He says, "Something has changed," and indeed something has. He changed what he repeatedly said to himself, and his subconscious mind faithfully followed that new blueprint. This is not magic in the sense of superstition. It is spiritual science. Your subconscious operates according to universal mental law. What you impress upon it with feeling, it expresses as conditions, experiences, and behaviors. Modern neuroscience confirms that repeated thoughts and emotions carve stable networks in the brain. The more you rehearse a pattern, the more automatic it becomes. Your subconscious mind is that deep layer of you that runs these automatic patterns. It regulates your heartbeat, your immune system, and the incredibly complex systems of your body. It also regulates your habits, your emotional responses, and the lens through which you view the world. When you speak to yourself inwardly, you are sending instructions to this inner power plant, this silent engine of your life. To work with this power is to understand the nature of prayer in its highest form. Prayer is not pleading with an external deity who might or might not respond. Prayer, in its scientific sense, is the disciplined art of impressing a new idea upon the subconscious mind with faith and feeling, of conditioning your inner conversation until it aligns with the good you desire. When you affirm, "I am guided, I am supported by divine intelligence, my mind and body are healing," and you feel the meaning of those words, not as a desperate demand, but as a quiet acceptance, you are engaging in scientific prayer. You are giving your subconscious a new pattern to express. Your words are not powerful because they are loud or dramatic. They are powerful because of the belief behind them. Belief is the law of life. What you accept as true in your heart, with or without proof, becomes the directive your subconscious follows. This is why the same words can be empty for one person and transformative for another. If a person mechanically says, I am prosperous, while secretly believing this is nonsense, nothing ever works for me, then the subconscious responds to the deeper feeling of doubt, not the surface words. But when you gently cultivate belief, through repetition, contemplation, and emotional alignment, the words you speak within begin to take root. Your imagination is the workshop where this alignment occurs. Imagination is the mental factory that produces the images and scenarios your subconscious uses as instructions. When you visualize a desired outcome as already accomplished, feeling its reality, savoring its emotional tone, you are providing your subconscious mind with a blueprint. It does not distinguish between a vividly imagined event and a physical one. The neural pathways activated, the emotional chemistry released, the subtle electromagnetic patterns generated in the body are remarkably similar. Your subconscious accepts this as your new normal and begins to reorganize your behavior, perception, and even your bodily responses according to that inner image. Notice how your body reacts when you dwell on fearful scenarios. Your shoulders tighten, your breath shortens, your heart rate increases. These are somatic responses to imagined events. The body does not wait for the event to occur. It responds to the inner movie you are playing. In the same way, when you dwell on images of peace, safety, and success, your body begins to soften, your nervous system begins to regulate, and your subconscious receives a new message. This is what we choose. You are practicing emotional alchemy, transforming the heavy metals of worry and resentment into the gold of inner calm and trust. There is a profound truth hidden here. Your subconscious does not respond to force or struggle. It responds to emotional intensity and inner conviction. When you strain, when you desperately try to make something happen through sheer willpower, you often activate feelings of resistance and fear. Those feelings are the true message your subconscious hears. But when you speak to yourself in a tone of quiet certainty, when you repeat words of truth gently but persistently, your subconscious receives them as a loving directive. It is as though you are speaking to a very intelligent yet literal-minded servant. It obeys the feeling of your words, not the noise around them. This is why the practice of the sleeping method is so powerful. As you drift into sleep, your brain waves slow and the critical, analytical part of your mind relaxes. In that twilight state between waking and sleeping, your subconscious is especially open to suggestion. The last words you say to yourself before sleep are like seeds planted in the most fertile soil. If at night you replay conflicts, resentments, fears, and regrets, you are sending those impressions into your inner garden, and your subconscious will water them throughout the night. Your dreams may echo them. Your nervous system may encode them more deeply. You may wake with a vague heaviness you cannot explain. But you can choose another way. Each night as you lie in bed and feel yourself growing drowsy, gently turn your attention to the truths you wish to live. You might say inwardly, I am at peace. Divine intelligence is guiding my life. My body knows how to heal. My mind is a garden of loving, prosperous, and harmonious thoughts. I rest now in the infinite presence that cares for me. You do not need to argue with the day. You do not need to relive every event. You simply place these soothing, truthful statements on the threshold of sleep, and then you rest. As you sleep, your subconscious mind takes these words and works with them. It adjusts your emotional circuitry. It calms your nervous system. It sends healing messages through your body. It prepares your mind to recognize opportunities and solutions upon waking. This is nighttime programming of the subconscious, and it is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Consider a woman who has suffered from chronic anxiety for many years. Her inner dialogue is filled with phrases like, something is wrong with me, I cannot handle this, life is too much. These statements are not evil, they are simply repeated descriptions of her current feelings. Yet every time she repeats them, her subconscious hears them as commands. Her body responds with more tension, more adrenaline, more vigilance, her brain strength. Then's the neural pathways of fear. She falls asleep with these thoughts, wakes with them, and feels trapped in a cycle she cannot break. One evening she learns about the power of her subconscious mind. She does not pretend that decades of anxiety will vanish overnight, but she begins an experiment. Each night, just before sleep, she rests a hand on her heart and speaks gently within. I am safe in this moment. My body is learning to relax. There is a calm center within me that I am now discovering. A higher intelligence is restoring balance to my mind and body. At first these words feel unfamiliar, even slightly unbelievable. But she does not fight that feeling. She simply continues night after night, speaking kindness to herself, offering new messages to her inner mind. Slowly, her nervous system begins to respond. She notices that she wakes feeling a little lighter. She has more moments in the day when she can catch herself before spiraling into panic. Over time, the old pathways of dread weaken and new pathways of calm strengthen. What changed? She became aware of what she was repeatedly saying to herself and chose to become the conscious author of her inner script. One of the simplest yet most profound tools you can use in this work is the law of substitution. Your conscious mind cannot hold two opposing thoughts with equal intensity at the same time. When a thought of fear arises, you have the power to substitute another thought. This is not denial, it is direction. Denial says, I do not feel afraid, when you clearly do. Direction says, yes, fear is here, and I now choose to introduce another idea. When a thought like, I always fail, appears, you can gently say, no, I choose a different thought now, and replace it with, every day I am learning and improving. Divine wisdom is guiding me to success. You may need to do this many times. At first, the old thought will return out of habit, but each time you substitute a new thought and give it emotional attention, you are rewiring the circuitry of your mind. You are practicing spiritual neuroplasticity. The law of substitution is especially powerful when combined with the practice of scientific prayer. When you become quiet, turn within and affirm a truth about yourself with feeling. I am at peace. I am guided. I am provided for. You are planting a seed in your subconscious. When old thoughts arise, instead of wrestling with them, you gently bring your mind back to your chosen truth. You may repeat your affirmation, not as a desperate mantra, but as a calm reminder. Over time, the substituted thought becomes more familiar, more natural. The subconscious begins to accept it, and your outer life adjusts accordingly. There is another sacred aspect of this work that has been honored by mystics and sages through the ages: secrecy and silence. When you begin to form a new idea about yourself, perhaps a vision of health, a dream of fulfilling work, or a realization of your spiritual worth, it is often wise to keep this desire in the secrecy of your heart, especially in its early stages. A seed grows best in the darkness of the soil, protected from harsh winds while its roots take hold. In the same way, your subconscious impressions grow stronger when they are shielded from the doubts, mockery, or cynicism of others. This does not mean you live in isolation or fear, but it does mean you become selective. You choose not to share your deepest inner blueprint with those who habitually speak from fear. You speak it instead to the infinite intelligence within you. You commune with your own heart in silence. You pray in the inner sanctuary, where your Father within sees in secret and rewards openly. When you hold a desire in this quiet space, you amplify its power. Your inner conviction becomes stronger, not because others approve, but because your subconscious has fewer conflicting messages to process. Your subconscious mind is like a vast mental reservoir, storing every impression, every emotional shock, every word spoken to you with intensity. Yet it is not merely a passive storage unit. It is a living, creative power plant that generates the experiences of your life according to the patterns it holds. Modern research into psychosomatic medicine reveals that chronic stress, unresolved trauma, and unhealed emotional wounds can manifest as physical symptoms. The body, in many ways, is the screen upon which the inner movie of the subconscious is projected. When you repeatedly say to yourself, I am weak, I am broken, my body is failing, your subconscious sends corresponding messages through your nervous system. Your muscles tighten, your immune system may weaken, your biochemistry shifts in the direction of those words. But there is another possibility. Your subconscious also holds the memory of wholeness, the blueprint of health, the program of balance and repair. Within you there is an inner doctor, an aspect of divine intelligence that knows how to heal cuts, mend bones, regulate hormones, and maintain equilibrium. When you consciously begin to speak to this inner doctor with respect and trust, when you say within, thank you, divine intelligence in me, for guiding every cell, every organ, every system back into harmony, you are collaborating with the healing forces already at work. You are sending new instructions into your body's emotional circuitry and neural networks, inviting them to align with the idea of wholeness. Think of a person diagnosed with a troubling condition. They might naturally feel fear and confusion. The world around them might echo that fear with dramatic stories and dire predictions. If they repeat those predictions to themselves day and night, their subconscious takes them as commands. But if alongside wise medical care, they begin to cultivate a new inner language, I am more than this diagnosis. My body is receptive to healing. Every day, in every way, I am improving. The infinite intelligence that made my body knows how to restore it. They are changing the inner script. They are not denying the facts. They are introducing a higher truth. Their subconscious receives these words, and the body begins to respond. The immune system may strengthen, stress hormones may decrease, regenerative process may activate more fully. This is not superstition. It is the interplay of mind, emotion, and biology. As you listen, notice that certain sentences seem to touch you more deeply than others. Some phrases feel like gentle keys turning in long locked doors. This is your subconscious stirring, recognizing truths it has always known. You might hear a quiet response within you, a whisper that says, yes, this is so. I have felt this all along. When that happens, pause inwardly and allow that recognition to deepen. Let the words sink beyond your surface, thinking into the deeper silence beneath. There they are received as living seeds. At this very moment, your inner dialogue is continuing. Beneath the awareness of listening, you are still speaking to yourself. You may be saying, this makes sense, or can this really be true for me? You may be observing your own reactions. I feel calm, or I feel resistance. Whatever arises, see if you can meet it with kindness. Speak inwardly as you would to a dear friend. If skepticism arises, you might say within, it is all right to question. I am learning something new. I am open to discovering that more is possible for me than I previously believed. This kind of gentle internal conversation is itself a form of scientific prayer. You are guiding your subconscious with understanding rather than condemnation. Now let us descend more deeply into the practice of visualization, that sacred art through which you offer your subconscious a new divine blueprint. Close in your awareness, the door to outer distractions. Know that you are turning your attention inward to the inner sanctuary of your mind. With your inner eye, see yourself in a state that reflects the truths you wish to embody. If you seek peace, see yourself moving through your day with a quiet steadiness, your breath soft, your shoulders relaxed. See yourself responding to challenges with clarity and patience. If you seek prosperity, see yourself making wise decisions, engaging in meaningful work, feeling grateful as needs are met in timely and often surprising ways. If you seek healing, see yourself walking with ease, feeling vitality in your body, savoring moments of energy and joy. Do not strain to see these images. Let them arise gently, like scenes emerging from a mist. The more relaxed you are, the more vivid they become. As you hold these images, allow corresponding feelings to bloom in your chest. Feel, even if only for a moment, what it might be like if this were already your reality. That feeling is the electromagnetic signature you send into your nervous system, into your emotional circuitry, into the invisible field around you. Your subconscious registers this as a message. This is what we choose. This is what we are aligning with. Over time, as you revisit this visualization with sincerity and calm, your subconscious begins to accept it as the new norm. Your actions, perceptions, and habits begin to shift to match it. People, ideas, and resources that harmonize with this vision seem to appear at the right time. This is the universal law responding to the blueprint you have given it. As you work with these practices, you'll notice that your relationship with your thoughts changes. You will realize that thoughts are not dictators, they are visitors. Some arrive from your past conditioning, others from the collective atmosphere of fear or doubt. You are under no obligation to accept every thought that knocks at the door of your mind. You are free to ask, is this thought worthy of being repeated? Is it worthy of being planted in the soil of my subconscious? If the answer is no, you can let it pass. You can choose another thought that aligns with truth, love, and possibility. This is the essence of personal sovereignty, the understanding that you are not the helpless victim of your inner dialogue, but its author. There is a quiet revolution that takes place when you accept this. You stop speaking curses over your own life. You stop rehearsing stories of inevitability about your failures or limitations. Instead, you begin to speak as one who understands the laws of the mind. You say to yourself, I am learning to cooperate with divine intelligence. My words have creative power. I choose to speak life, not death, over my future. You do not do this with fanfare. You do it privately, in the secrecy of your own heart, and you let your life gradually bear witness to the change. Imagine now, not as an escape, but as a sacred exercise, that you are standing in the workshop of your own mind. Around you are shelves filled with phrases, beliefs, and images. Some are old and dusty, inherited from others. I am not enough. People cannot be trusted. Money is evil. I always get sick. Each time you pick up one of these phrases and repeat it, you place it on the assembly line of your subconscious mind, and your inner factory begins to build experiences to match it. But you also notice other phrases, shining quietly in the corner, perhaps neglected but always available. I am worthy of love and respect. Life supports me in unexpected and delightful ways. I am guided by a wisdom greater than my intellect. My body is my friend and partner. It knows how to heal. You realize you have the freedom to choose which phrases you place on the assembly line. You may have chosen unconsciously in the past, but you can choose consciously now. Gently, you begin to take down the old phrases of limitation and return them to the shelf. You no longer place them on the conveyor belt of your subconscious. In their place, you choose new words, not as empty slogans, but as living truths you are willing to grow into. You say within, I am choosing to think in a new way. I am choosing to feel in a new way. My subconscious mind responds quickly and joyfully to these new patterns. This simple inner act changes the direction of your life. As you continue along this path, you will discover that your inner speech becomes more loving, more aligned with the divine blueprint of your being. You will notice that when you make mistakes, your self-talk shifts from, I'm such a failure, to, I am learning, I forgive myself, I choose again. When you face challenges, instead of declaring, this is impossible, you begin to say, I may not yet see the way, but a way exists, in fin. My intelligence knows the solution, and I am being guided to it. These are not mere phrases. They are vehicles of power. They carry with them an energy that shapes your neural pathways, your emotional responses, and your manifested experiences. There is one more dimension of this work, subtle yet profound. The understanding that every time you speak inwardly, you are not only speaking to yourself, you are speaking to the divine presence within you. There is an aspect of you that is never wounded, never anxious, never confused. It is the spark of universal intelligence that lives in every human being. When you affirm, I am guided, you are acknowledging this inner presence. When you say, I am loved, you are affirming the fundamental truth of your being. The more you speak in harmony with this inner divinity, the more you feel its reality. The more you feel its reality, the more naturally your outer life reflects it. Your words, then, are bridges between your conscious mind and the infinite. Each repetition carves a path, and eventually that path becomes a highway through which inspiration, guidance, and strength flow. When you say, "I do not know what to do," and stop there, you close the door. But when you say, "I may not know yet, but the wisdom within me does, and I am open to receiving it," you open a window in your mind. Fresh ideas, subtle nudges, and inner promptings begin to appear. You find yourself taking the right step at the right time, drawn by an intelligence greater than your reasoning alone. As this understanding grows, stress and struggle begin to loosen their grip on you. You realize that much of your suffering arose not from the events themselves, but from the story you repeatedly told yourself about those events. "This always happens to me. I'll never be free of this. I am powerless." When you withdraw your belief from those stories and replace them with new ones, your nervous system learns a new baseline. Instead of living in perpetual fight or flight, you begin to live more often in a state of trust. This does not mean you never feel fear, sadness, or anger. It means you are no longer ruled by them. You become an alchemist of emotion, able to acknowledge what you feel while choosing the thoughts and words that lead you toward peace. Now you stand at a threshold. You can continue to speak to yourself as you always have, allowing old patterns to play out unconsciously, or you can step into your role as a conscious creator, recognizing that the inner voice you hear all day long is the architect of your destiny. You can begin, even in small ways, to change that inner commentary. You can adopt one simple affirmation and repeat it lovingly throughout the day, especially in quiet moments and before sleep. For example, "Divine intelligence within me is now guiding me, healing me, prospering me, and harmonizing my relationships. I accept this truth with gratitude." If this feels too expansive at first, you can soften it. "I am learning to trust that a higher wisdom is guiding me. I am open to healing, to peace, to new possibilities." What hitters is your sincerity and your willingness to persist. As you persist, the subconscious mind, that faithful servant, responds. It begins to reorganize your inner world, and the outer world gradually mirrors that change. You may notice subtle shifts at first, a calmer reaction here, a kinder self-judgment there, a surprising opportunity, an unexpected resolution. These are signs that your inner work is bearing fruit. They confirm what has always been true. The inner world creates the outer world, and belief is the law of life. You are not at the mercy of random forces. Stress, limitation, and suffering are not punishments imposed from without, but often the outgrowth of beliefs and inner dialogues that have gone unquestioned. When you shed those beliefs and adopt new ones in harmony with divine truth, the conditions of your life change. This does not mean that all storms cease, but it does mean that you no longer identify yourself as the storm. You become the calm center, the witness, the one who chooses. You discover that you have always had access to an infinite reservoir of peace, wisdom, and creative power. In this very moment, your subconscious mind is listening,